Hello Cancer and welcome to your monthly forecast for October. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the big strands of influence this month before going on to give you a much more detailed analysis. So the big news is that we've had Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter, the outer planets, in retrograde for some months, and they're all going to come out of those retrogrades this month. But Mercury, of course, has been in retrograde too, and that will continue to rewind through to the 18th. Also, there is a very powerful combination between the Sun and Mars in your sector of the home, security, family. So that's an interesting one that we need to look at too. But before I dive into this, thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, if you'd like to get your free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please click on the subscription button below. I've been writing these for 27 years and my work features in Britain's most read newspaper. And if with turning our thoughts to the approaching new year, you'd like to get your personal year 2022 forecast, you can order it this year and get the rest of this year free, plus a character analysis and 30% off. This is based on your personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, and will give you seeing insights beyond your zodiac forecast. Please see the link below. So, going back to the start of this month, the Sun, passionate Mars, and also the planet of communication Mercury are all in house 4, but that's the sign of Libra. So Libra is about balance, but house 4 for you is about those emotions, about those more sensitive personal strands. Now, security can be the physical place that we find shelter, but it can also be about how we feel within ourselves, if we feel safe, which is obviously something we all aspire to. And I think having Mars alongside the Sun through the first 17 days of this month can give you a passion to create that security. So if you're wanting to do something physical to improve where you live, this may be about taking down something or putting something up, because Mars is about action. But it can also be about impatience. And you're a sign that's known to be quite guarded to avoid confrontation. You will often go left or right, like the archetype of the crab, but Mars could make you a bit more direct and protective, a bit more ardent about saying how you feel. And also because Mercury in this sector can, in some ways, ask you to be more logical about some very personal strands. That can create a kind of conflict. And also Mercury tangles with Pluto in the first 5 days of this month. So there could be a bit of a tender conversation that's going to take place with someone you're close to. However, on the 6th, we do have Pluto going forwards. Pluto, the planet of transformation, which has impacted on your relationships so incredibly powerfully since 2008. But if there has been, a sense of frustration around certain interactions over the last 4.5, 5 months, I think these can lighten a bit, but this month still has some quite political strands linked to Pluto, which I will go on to explain. But also on the 6th, of course, we do have the new moon. And this new moon in Libra is about finding balance, and Libra is about relating to people skillfully through the prism of its air rulership. But for you, being the 4th house and having Mars in the mix, and also the Sun, Mars and the Moon in a 150 tenths angle to the planet of revolution, Uranus, which is in your sector of the future and of friendships, there may be something disrupting around this new moon that you have to confront. Maybe you're living somewhere that you don't actually feel that at ease in, and it may not be because the physical structure is not good, it may be because it just doesn't feel right. A very powerful thing with all Cancer people. Or it's possible that somebody linked to you, like a family member, could be a bit unpredictable or chaotic in their behaviours. So you could have someone who's left home wanting to come home, or just a sense of uncertainty about where you're living or how you're living there, or whom with. So I think it's important, because this is a new moon, to try to find some improvements. And Mars gives you the impulse to be more direct, more ardent in expressing your opinion, but it could also make you a bit defensive. Now, because Venus, the planet of creativity but also of relating, is in a wonderful location for you through the first 7 days of this month, for some Cancer people, I think the energy of Mars could give you the push to start a business from home, because Cancer people can often be absolutely brilliant in terms of managing anything, whether it is an enterprise, whether it is being some kind of steward of an element of any kind of business or process. So I think having Venus in the creative area, for those people who love crafting or do something that's more imaginative, could see you wanting to change your home around to accommodate some kind of creative strand. But on the 7th, Venus does move from your sister water sign of Scorpio into Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is quite a frank sign, but for you this is house 6, and what you're pushed to do with Venus here is to try to create a greater cordiality in relationships by your physical actions and thoughtfulness, because the 6th house is a lot about how we can help others. Now, if you're single and you'd like to meet somebody, Venus being in the sign of Scorpio at the start of the month can definitely be very good, but once it moves into Sagittarius, it could be in a very practical location that you encounter someone of interest. On the 11th, however, Saturn ends a retrograde, and I think this is particularly significant if a financial strand, a business, joint finances, you've been waiting on money from some kind of estate that's being unravelled, some kind of blockage around a deep practical issue can start to be straightened out. So expect some good news pretty soon from that forward motion. Also on the 18th, Jupiter, which is in the same location as Saturn, goes forwards. Jupiter is the planet traditionally linked with fortune, and Jupiter going backwards as it has over the last 4 months, it started in your sector of contracts and travel and then has reversed back into this deeper, more passionate area. So Saturn and Jupiter going forwards is good for money, good for business, and potentially could be good for where you're devoted in a situation. Now, because Venus forges a very constructive link with Saturn from the 10th through to the 16th, if you are discussing a financial matter or a business relationship, that can be a time of great progress. But Mercury in your 4th house for the first half of this month, and then going forwards on the 18th, is obviously a key event. But it is true that Mercury doesn't fully emerge from its shadow lands until the 3rd of November. So there may still be dialogue to be had about that whole issue of where you live, who you live with and how, or a business matter linked to your home. But I think, going forwards can definitely see a speeding up. Now, in week 3 of this month, the Sun is going to go into quite a wounding link with Pluto. Now, I kind of flagged this earlier by saying that Pluto could be linked to some politics later in the month, despite it going forwards. So the Sun in house 4 of emotion gets into a mighty clash around the time of the full moon in Aries of the 20th. So the following 2 weeks does point towards some kind of battle of wills. You may encounter somebody who's not very reasonable about your emotional or personal agenda or needs, and you may have to push back and stand strong if someone's unreasonable. Also, Mars in the sign of Libra, separated from the Sun, but from the 17th through to the 26th, that's also in a tussle with Mars. Mars from the 17th to the 26th is also in a tussle with Pluto. Now that square is very much about desire. These two are the rulers, the modern and traditional ruler of the sign of Scorpio. So something you really desire, if you push a little bit too hard, it could be counterproductive. Now for all of us, Jupiter's in a semi-sextile with Pluto all through this month. So I would say that when it comes to your relationships with others, be it business or personal, trying to keep a sense of cordiality there, or at least of reasonableness in terms of your expectations, but also in terms of how you go about presenting your side of things is important, because Mars square Pluto really can see us tempted to take some shortcuts and be ruthless to the point where we might win something, but it could be a hollow victory. Now, on the 23rd, the Sun happily moves into Scorpio. So this is a great location for you. All this inner stuff that's so to the fore earlier in the month makes way for a lighter, brighter, more sociable time. And in fact, on the 30th, Mars is going to join up with the Sun in Scorpio too. So I think going through to the middle of December with Mars's help, or Mars's say on it, it's going to be a much more sociable and outgoing time. But it is so that from the 23rd to the 29th, Venus in that practical 6th house is clashing with Neptune for you. So Neptune is in a very spiritual location in the sign of Pisces, but in the 9th house, this is where your higher truth speaks to you. You could encounter someone who kind of like, you like, it could be romantic, it could be at work, you like this person, but somehow or another you feel that they're trying to sort of pull at your heartstrings to gain your extra cooperation. Try to resist that. If you meet somebody you do like and you know it's a genuine attraction, just don't put them on a pedestal too readily. From the 27th to the 30th, the Sun in its new home, your 5th house, is squaring with Saturn, even though it's going forwards. A bit of jealousy could show itself towards the end of this month. Someone close to you may be suffering with the green-eyed monster about some improvements in your situation. Maybe they didn't really want it to get better for you. Some, people manifest and have some very strange attitudes at times. But equally, it's a time not to risk your resources without thinking very carefully about what would happen if things didn't go to the plan that you're developing. So Saturn is anti-risk, but the Sun in the 5th house is very much about being more speculative. So just be conscious of that as the month draws to a close. But overwhelmingly, with Jupiter in that gorgeous link to Pluto all month, with the unravelling of those retrogrades, your long-term financial sector definitely is blessed. I feel that the home part of your situation is going to require some care, and with Uranus in the mix, it would be easy to be impetuous at times to sort of make demands or impose your desire on a situation that needs to retain a more collaborative approach. So you're often driven by a need to maintain security, but with Mars so prominent this month, it could push you to be a bit more direct in your approach, which can, in some ways, could be exhilarating, but it also can create some repercussions and some responses from others that are a bit more direct too. For now, stay safe, good luck, and goodbye.